This project doesn't require a heavy, expensive cardstock. I used a 65-pound weight cardstock that I found at Michael's in a pack of colors that I thought looked nice together. So feel free to go ahead and use something like that. In addition to that, you're going to need some adhesive. You're going to need one brad, your bone folder, and optionally an embossing folder for the inside panels. I used this inexpensive embossing folder from Quan Crafts that I purchased on Amazon, but really any embossing folder would work as long as you like the way it looks. So now that you finally have all of your pieces cut, it's time to start assembling your project. The first step is going to be to adhere the outside layer of the boxes to their shadow layer, and you're just going to do this by gluing along the edges and placing some glue in the inner parts of the outside piece. You're going to want to use a good strong adhesive and a fair amount of adhesive because this does add to the stability of your project. Next, you're going to want to fold your box bases along the score lines and reinforce those folds with your bone folder. You're either going to use the box base with the solid score line or the box base with the dotted score line. Next, you're going to glue those cover panels to the outside of the box base. I like to do this before I glue the two box base pieces together because I find it's a little bit easier to work with smaller pieces. To do this, you're just going to adhere a fair amount of adhesive to the shadow layer side, and you're going to put that on your box base as straight as possible. It is a fairly tight fit, so you're going to need to be careful with this. Now the two shall become one. You're going to glue those two box base pieces together by putting a fair amount of adhesive on that tab, rubbing it in, lining up the two pieces and gluing them together. Try to keep this as straight as possible. You want your box lid to sit on straight, and no one really wants the leaning tower of boxes. Now we're going to go ahead and glue those inside panel covers to the inside of the box. Go ahead and use a fair amount of adhesive for this and lay them out as straight as possible. When you're finished, you're going to want to kind of give the box a fold and make sure that everything is straight, that you don't have any panels glued along the fold lines, and then you're going to go ahead and set that aside. Now we're going to go ahead and start assembling the shelves for the box. The first step in this process will be to fold along all the score lines on the shelf bases. After you get nice, good, crisp score lines, you can go ahead and glue down those cover panels and the shelf liners. The one trick to remember here is that you're going to want to glue the shelf liner on one side and then flip it over and glue down the cover panels on the other side. Otherwise, you're going to end up with cover panels on the inside or a shelf liner on the bottom. Neither of those situations is ideal. Then once you get all of your cover panels and your shelf liners glued on, you can go ahead and square off those edges, glue the tabs down, and turn those into little boxes. Now we're going to go ahead and start making this look like something. We're going to glue those shelves onto the box base. I like to do this by starting at the uppermost shelf and the bottommost shelf. I like to go ahead and get those lined up to the top and lined up to the bottom. You want to put a lot of glue on those and put them in place. After you get each of your shelves put in, it's a good idea to go ahead and roll the box closed to make sure that everything is lined up and working okay. After you get the top and bottom shelves in, it's time to go ahead and glue those middle shelves. Just line them up as best as you can, put a lot of glue on them, and make sure they're as straight as possible. Now we're going to go ahead and make the lid for our box. This box has folded over edges for a more professional look and also for a tighter fit. So the first step is going to be to fold all of those score lines, and then you're going to go ahead and reinforce all those folds with your bone folder to make sure you have nice, good, crisp creases. To form the box lid, you're going to go ahead and put some glue on those small tabs, square off the sides, and glue the sides together. When you get that finished, you're going to go ahead and put some glue on those flaps and fold them in. When you're all done with this, give it a test fit on the box and make sure that everything looks nice. The last step of the project is going to be to make the bow that goes on top. I highly recommend using a hot glue gun to glue the bow to the top of the box. If you're going to do that, it's time to go ahead and plug that in. Next, you're going to want to go ahead and train all of the loops of your bow. So you're going to do this by curling the loops around something round, much like you do curling ribbon on a gift box. For the small loop, you can just start at one end and go to the other. For the larger loops, I suggest starting in the middle and working towards the ends. The rest of the bow is really simple to assemble. What you're doing is you're going to create 2 layers of 8 loops, and each one of those strips is going to create 2 loops. So you're going to work from largest to smallest. So starting with the larger strips, you're going to place your brad through the center and then just fold over those 2 ends to create 2 loops. And you're going to do this for the 4 larger strips, and then you're going to go to the 2 medium strips and then the 2 small strips. Once you're finished with that, go ahead and open up your brad. What I like about using a brad for this is that you can make adjustments to your loops and nothing has to be really permanently fixed in place. So if you don't like the way something looks, you can just tweak it a little bit. The final step of the project is going to be to hot glue the bow onto your box lid and then to hot glue that center loop onto the bow. I tried using my regular adhesive and it did not work out very well. It kept popping off. So that's why I recommend using the hot glue. Thank you for watching. Check back often for fun new projects. Thanks. Bye.